Okay, my son Jamie here is going to get ready to start this motor up here. It's a 275 supercharged Cummins, and it's got a backdrop manifold on it and straight pipe. So the truck is got quite a bit of a loud bark to it, and how he makes it down here and back home without the cops throwing him in jail, I'm not quite sure.
My name's Jamie Stevens. I'm from Port Alberni, British Columbia, Canada, and I'm a heavy-duty mechanic, welder, and I work for contract loggers in the logging industry back home.
I'm Ross Stevens, and I used to run my own business at Stevens Welding, and I've since passed it on to Jamie, and I'm transitioning into retirement.
We're down here in Reno, Nevada at the ATHS National Convention, and I drove my 1949 Pacific logging truck down from Canada. I've updated it substantially from what it was originally. It originally was an off-road logging truck with 4640 wide-track rear ends. But I updated it to a Kenworth 8-bag running gear so we can do highway speeds coming down here, because it was pretty slow before. It's got a 275 Cummins supercharger with a 5 4 transmission in it.
The truck is a 1955, and I bought this truck 20 some years ago as a wreck, and I fixed it up in our shop over a course of one winter. We've updated with a Cummins 440 engine, 15-speed Road Ranger with an overdrive, and a set of 40,000-pound Rockwells on Peterbilt air ride. And we did that about 20 years ago. This truck, it was originally bought brand new and ran from Vancouver to Calgary, dropping down through the States as there was no Rogers Pass then. It was a company team-driven truck all its life, and became part of the Hunt Transport Group, again as a team truck, and it also ended up as a Motorways Colors, again as a team-driven truck. And I bought it, like I said, 20 years ago, and we restored and fixed it up, and been coming to the ATHS shows quite a bit now since then. Hays were built in Vancouver, BC, and I think 1927 they started building trucks and trailers. They built a lot of off-highway trucks, a lot of heavy-duty trucks, and a lot of highway trucks. But they're very, very strong in BC and Canada. A few of them made it down here in the States, but a lot of people down here have never seen hazes, so they are, we get a lot of questions here from the people south of the border that never ever seen a haze truck, because they're pretty rare down here to be seen. This truck here is on 1955, and it was only built that style for about 3 years or so, and they started upgrading them to the other truck here, the 74, which is a little bit nicer. This particular truck I have is a pretty rare for haze. Most of the haze trucks in their years had removable bunks on them. So my truck there has an integral sleeper, which in 55 there weren't a lot of integral sleepers made. And also another unique feature of my truck is got the cast aluminum radiator that is exposed. And that was only built for about 3 years, and then they went to an internal radiator with a fiberglass cover over them.
This is a 1949 Pacific. They classified it as an E-mod. And Pacific started production in 1947 when 3 of the Hayes employees quit Hayes and started their own truck business called Pacific Truck and Trailer. This is serial number 12. It was ordered in 1948. They ordered Canadian Forest Products, ordered 6 trucks, and this is truck number 6 of their order. It went into a logging camp in the north end of Vancouver Island, and it spent its whole life in that logging camp. And when I bought it, it was when it came out of its camp life. Pacific built trucks up until, I believe the last truck was built in 1992, where they kind of specialized like Hayes and mainly the off-road logging industry. They didn't get into too many highway trucks, they were mainly off-road trucks they built. This truck here was originally had 9-foot wide rear ends and 11-foot bunks on them, so they were never designed to go on the road, and that was kind of the main downfall of Pacific, is they built their trucks heavy. So even when they went into the highway industry for logging trucks, they were a hard sell because they were such a heavy built, strong built truck that they couldn't compete with the Kenworths and Western Star for over the road hauling when they started coming out with the weight restrictions. They'd haul on regularly 50-60 ton loads on up to 20-15% hills and steep country, and they did it every day, no problem. Like this truck had a water tank on it for water-cooled brakes on the truck and the trailer. Hayes and Pacifics had great big water tanks as their cab guards, where all the off-road trucks up in Canada have that, and a lot of the American trucks had smaller water tanks they used in the off-road applications for cooling their brake systems coming off the mountains. We came down through Victoria on the Blackball ferry to Port Angeles. It was about a 19-hour drive down. We did it in 2 days, and this truck with the supercharger and straight pipe was quite loud, so it was ear muffs and ear plugs to make it semi-enjoyable to drive for 19 hours.
You mean you couldn't jam the tunes on the radio?
No radio. You can't hear nothing. You can't even hear your own thoughts in the cab.
It was the same time for us to both come down together. We left the house at 5:30 in the morning. We drove to, I think, 9 o'clock that night to get down to Oak Ridge, where we spent the night. And we got up in the morning and drove from Oak Ridge down here and got here, I think, about 6:30 in the evening. I've been involved in the ATHS for, well, I don't know, 25 years. I think I come to my first show. It was in Portland. I brought a 1933 Chevy 1-ton truck down to it. And I was hooked on the ATHS shows then. And we've pretty well gone to quite a few since then. We try and make every one. We were here in the 2001 show. We last year when I flew out to Lexington, I actually took a 1945 Mack with a low bed and a 1932 Kenworth logging truck, and we drove that all the way down to Phoenix to go to a show there. And that was, that's another whole story in that trip alone there. That had a 150 horsepower Cummins motor in it.
And you're pulling something, you're hauling something.
We were hauling down. That took us a couple extra days to get down there than normal, but it was quite an enjoyable trip. And my son here, he's been involved in our shop business, and we restore a truck. We try and do it in the winter when our shop is slow. So we'll restore a truck or two, sometimes sell it back into the logging industry or keep them for ourselves for a few years and sell them off. So we've restored quite a few trucks over the years, and we still have a few. We've got the oldest Hayes logging truck, which is 1929. We don't take it to too many shows because it's got to be low bedded everywhere. But Jamie, we got him involved in it, and he fixed this Pacific up himself, and we came to, I believe, the Salem? Yakima National Show, and we got it out of the shop the day before we left and put a permit on. He drove it down. That was, when was that? That was
8 years ago?
7 or 8 years ago. So he put this truck together himself, and I'd only help him if he was working on and asked for help. I have found and met many good friends from the organization, and I look forward to the friendship that I've made with people that only see at the national shows. I've met a lot of people that you wouldn't get to meet just by going on holidays or unless you're a business acquaintance. So we've met a huge variety of people that have been very interesting. And when we come to a convention like this as a member, your other members talk to you as, you know, just friends right off the bat. So it's a very, as an organization, it is a very, very good organization.
Well, I'm running with the old motor and the old transmissions. You got to keep up on your checking your oils in it, and it always seems to be a never-ending battle with got seals going. I got a few issues that have developed on this run down here, which is standard driving a 1949 vintage truck, the amount of miles we did in a short period of time. So I got a list that's starting to get a bit longer for what my projects are going to be this winter when I put it in the shed and take it apart to fix it up for next summer. So got a little bit of motor work to do, some few oil leaks and water leaks. So it's pretty straightforward for what needs to be repaired on it. And doing the motor this winter, will be taking them heads off and doing a couple head gaskets that are starting to leak oil out the sides, just to clean it up so it's not an oil mess and covers the whole truck in oil. So
these old trucks like this, the parts are getting harder and harder to find. So you can't just go down to your local truck shop and buy our parts. We got to start sourcing them out, and the safety end of it, we have to have them as safe to drive down the road as a brand new truck, because if we get stopped or get our trucks inspected, they all have to be as safe as a new truck. So we can't just throw an old truck on the road and run down the road.
But what happens when you run into one of these weigh stations? Do you ever get some of these inspectors look at that and don't know where to start or what they're looking at?
We've had that several times now. I remember one time we got pulled into the scales going, the Shasta scales into California with an old truck, and it was a lady doing the inspection, and when she rolled out from under the truck, she said, "My, there is a lot of things there I've never ever seen before, but they all seem to be working properly, so you get to go home."